Imagine taking a 2020 GT500 engine with 760 horsepower out of the box and putting it in a 2,400 pound Shelby Cobra. The results are absolutely diabolical. So cutting right to the chase, let's go for a drive. What a beautiful day to drive an extremely fast and scary car. Jesus. I am a menace to society. David here today, here in a Shelby Cobra. I am here thanks to Downforce Motorsports. They were nice enough to let me drive a GT40 yesterday, which was my dream kind of vintage car to drive, so huge thanks to them. But then they said, you know what, you handled that one okay, but how about this one? And the last time I drove one of these was a Superformance 427, and that was out in California. And yeah, it was a learning curve. It made like some 500 horsepower or something. However, this one's a little different because it has the 2020 GT500 Predator engine in it. So it's a 5.2 liter supercharged V8. It's a cross plane crank. The Voodoo engine in the GT350 was flat plane crank. So there is some confusion a lot of the times when people go GT350 to GT500, but it's still a 5.2 block. That's the engine displacement. But it's got a supercharger on it and makes 760 horsepower in a car that weighs 2,400 pounds. So no big deal. We got a Tremec 5-speed TKX, which is a phenomenal 5-speed, and it feels really good. 427 was a little bit more of a learning curve, I feel like, at least to cruise around in, because you had the big old school wooden wheel, and you also had the shifter that was even longer than this one. The shifter in the Shelby Cobras is practically horizontal. So if you're not used to that, that could be a little wonky. But once you get the hang of it, especially in this one, it's very comfortable. You can tell this is a modern TKX Tremec transmission. That's important. Side note, there's probably a ton of vibration in this video, and I'm very sorry, but you know what? It makes it more intense. I love the color of this thing. The really cool thing about this Shelby Cobra is that with Downforce, they took this car to SEMA. They built it for SEMA. They did a completely custom interior with custom yellow stitching. The Momo wheel looks really great. It's a complete blackout car, which means there's no chrome on it, which I actually prefer. I know chrome is more of a, to make it more classic and feel like of the period, correct? But yeah, I like the more modern feel to this. And the yellow on this thing is actually a Lamborghini color. So probably found on like the Huracan, stuff like that. And it has a beautiful pearl in it, but not like an obnoxious flake. But one thing, if you ever get the chance to drive or ride in any Shelby Cobra, is the side pipes. It's like the signature thing, right? It looks awesome, they sound awesome. In the Predator engine with side pipes, it doesn't even sound like a GT500. It has its own kind of snarl to it. But you can very, very, very easily burn your leg on it. So you really got to be careful when you're getting in and out of the car through these tiny, tiny doors. But the pedals in these cars, the clutch pedal is all the way to the left, basically next to the door, essentially, or in the footwell, then the brake, then the gas. But the main thing with this is obviously the power to weight ratio. 760 crank horsepower, 2,400 pounds. And also, with you going from first to second to third, you're doing more of this number than this number. We also have the knockoff wheels with the little safety cable on it. So if you don't know what those are, back in the day when they did pit stops, they'd have to hammer these things off, wind them off, get the wheel tire off, and then do it all over again with a lead hammer. Another question you probably are going to have is this a real Shelby Cobra? And I think the perception of a real Cobra could mean a lot of different things. But in my opinion, technically, yes, it's a real Cobra because it's basically certified by Shelby. It has the original moldings by Shelby in the metal and all that. All the design comes from them. And Superformance is licensed to do all that. So with Downforce Motorsports, they sell these cars. They also sell GT40s. So if you're into any of that stuff, you can go check them out. They're based in South Carolina. Side note, this one's for sale. So if you're interested, I'll put a link down in the description below if you're interested, because obviously it's a pretty rare setup to have a Predator crate motor in pretty much anything. This one in particular, though, has the Ford controls pack. So it basically uses a factory ECU and factory harness. You throw that sucker in there, and you're done. The only thing you really have custom is the cold air intake, which, because it's MAF, it's mass airflow, so that's the only thing you got to worry about. And once it's in the car, drive like a normal car. And when you're not in the RPMs, you know, going crazy, it drives fairly smooth and normal. Yeah, it's a head turner. People love it. People are always asking, what is that thing? I also love this Momo wheel in comparison to the more vintage style. Once again, I know the vintage one's like more period correct, but I like this one a little bit more. Easing into it. Yeah, buddy. Yep. I see now. That's amazing. The guys at Downforce Motorsports said, wait, you're driving that thing? They said, yeah. They're like, be careful. And they were right. I can definitely see, like, once you get the tires hot, once you kind of get the hang of it, and respect it. Number one, respect it. Get out of the power if it's acting crazy. It's still something else. Like, when you feel it starting to spin and kick out, do the smart thing. Don't be too brave. Well, you know what? There's a difference between brave and stupid. And I think that's that's what separates people from driving something like this. Driving around town, you never know that it makes 760. Absolutely no idea. It almost sounds like the old 427 when you're driving around town. But when you're in it, you're like, oh, right, brand new motor. Well, it does the thing. What's really impressive about this is when you get into that next gear, it's there. The power's there. There's no waiting. There's no waiting for, oh yeah, I'll warm up to it and I'll wait for the tires to spin. No, it's just gonna go. It just, the power to weight is bananas in this thing. I'm relaxed, I'm focused, I'm confident, but not many cars give you the fun adrenaline laugh. You know, that's what this is giving me, where I'm like, tee-hee, oh my God, you know, it's crazy. That second gear in this thing is an absolute monster. And then third gear, you just reel into the moon. Fourth gear, you just gotta stop. You're out of space. I knew that it was gonna be quick, obviously, but wow. God, dude, even with how light it is, once that tire is hot, it's going. Like, I could have sworn this would be like, yeah, you know, we'll goof off, we'll make the tire spin a little bit, we'll have our fun, and we'll probably just be stuck in place. This car is set up so phenomenally well that it does exactly what you want. Except, I'm not even kidding. I don't think a lot of people would be brave enough to hit redline in this thing, and that's not me sounding arrogant, it's just gnarly. I have a ton of experience, I'm fortunate, I'm blessed, but there's a lot of people who would drive this thing around for the bragging right, go to Cars and Coffee, and then say, are you kidding? Are you kidding that I've hit redline or not? Like, it's pretty, but oh my God, dude. This is, to me, like, the magnus opus of Shelby Cobras. Like, unbelievable. Also, if you couldn't tell earlier, it stops very well. So that's a good thing. The tires are huge, right? And so you will get a little caught in the grooves when you get on the braking, hard braking, but that's normal, right? It's just part of it. Keep your eyes forward and all that. Going top of fourth, you're a man. You're definitely a man in this thing. But for me in this video, I'm literally out of space. giving it my all, I promise. I just, safety first. Meanwhile, cut to, and now look, I can have a normal conversation with you. I just shattered the earth, and I'm just crying. Yeah, no one be the wiser. And I think the fit and finish the motor as well is so impressive that the hood closes. There wasn't any kind of custom cutting of the hood. They just close, and nobody has any idea. They go, oh, nice, Shelby Cobra, looks good. Oh, it's from Downforce Motorsports. Oh, they're not crazy to put a Predator motor in that. The other thing I want to add on to it that's probably adding to the experience to make this better is it does have a smidge of a wide body on it. So a little bit bigger stuff, a little bit bigger rubber, but at the same time, I don't think it looks tacky. I actually like the vents on the side. I like the aero of it. And also I love the powered by Ford on the side. It just, yeah, by the mothership engine, but pretty incredible stuff. I'm pretty speechless. I mean, I've driven a lot of things, a lot of fast things, and this is as raw as it gets. For a modern / vintage build, this is as raw as it gets, and it's probably as fast as it gets. With a brave person, that GT40 would have a run for its money, for sure. This thing is crazy. Predator swapped, Shelby Cobra by Downforce Motorsports. What did I think of it? Well, yeah, the acceleration is pretty unmatched when it comes to an older platform, but let's be honest, this is like basically the best combination of old and new. I just want to thank Downforce for being so cool and letting me drive this and letting me drive the GT40. This was definitely, even though like the GT40 is like an expensive car, this is definitely like, are you sure you want to let somebody drive it? And I'm very privileged, so thank you again. But on that note, I'll see you guys next time. I'm gonna go drive something else. It's a lot slower. Bye.